Hey everyone. I'm Collette G, dating and relationship specialist and author. Welcome back to Finding Happily and welcome newcomers. After the explosive response to our previous video on Gail Lewis's heart-wrenching story, um, she dropped a bombshell update on TikTok, and it adds a whole new layer to the narrative. So, in today's video, I will be diving deep into Gail's revelation and discussing the complexities of love, karma, and healing after infidelity. Okay, so here is the video, and I'm going to start playing it now. Let's see.
Morning, y'all. Earlier this morning, I posted a lengthy and detailed video stating that today was my 28th wedding anniversary, and I was giving some details about how I met my husband. And I told you all earlier that, we're going through this process right now. I can't share too much of it, but I would share everything once we kind of get through. But I feel the need to address this. I really shouldn't have to, but I want to. So I ain't nobody's victim, and I ain't having nobody's pity party. So my original post was about me seeing him and her for the first time in the airport. I admitted that I was shocked. I was. And the video was only about 7 seconds where I said, have a good flight. I think I said, hey, Harold, have a good flight. And I walked on off, right? And I turned the video off after that. And then I said something like, that's his mistress. He's my husband. I'm the wife. And I went on back to where I was sitting in the Sky Club. Didn't say anything else. So I guess she's is saying something about when we got to the gateway to get on the plane. Yeah, I said some things to him, but he's my husband, so I can say whatever I want to say to him. And it's just like kicking any trash can. You kick it, and the trash may get over on you too. So some of it, she might have caught some of the flack, but that's just par for the course when you do this kind of stuff. And well, it wasn't too much I could do anyway because I had filed for divorce the year earlier. I filed for divorce in December of 22. So wasn't anything I really could do, guys, but other than doing what I did do. And then I kept it moving. But let me tell you something. Me and this girl are not the same person. When she met my husband, she knew he was married. She actually encouraged him to leave me. She was doing really disrespectful shit. She came to my Spelman Morehouse homecoming and sat under my tent and saw me sitting right there beside him and knew he was married. And we were all having a good time. There was no animosity that day. We were all having a good time. So as far as I'm concerned, she came around my family uninvited. Or actually, he might have invited her, but she knew what the deal was. Then she had the nerve to post that clip of Sunshine from Harlem Nights the day that I found out everything. Yeah, because I went on one of her pictures and kind of said a few things. And then she posted that video just kind of trying to taunt me. So I'm like, so you're going to taunt me and gloat after I find out that you've been with my husband. So, I'm like, So like I said, I don't owe anyone an explanation, but I'm keeping it 100. So I ain't judging him. I ain't judging her. But at the same time, she and I ain't the same. And this is not about her. This is all about him and his lies, his deception and all of that. So before you all get to start want to judge me and start talking about it's karma and all that, it could be, but it is what it is. So, I got to live with it. I'm going to be accountable for 100% of all my shit. So, but I'll say before you all start throwing stones and want to judge somebody, you need to hear the whole story. So, every woman he's ever been with has been deceived and lied to. But I'll give you the story about how he and I met and what the situation was. Stand by.
Okay, so that was the first video clip, and I first just want to make a point here. First off, um, I noticed in the first video, it appeared that Gail never said anything about this other woman other than her husband had been with another woman and she found out about it. She had never really thrown shade at this other woman. I commend her for coming forth and sharing her truth, though I don't really feel like it was necessary for her to do that, because she wasn't ever really throwing Sabrina Hutton under the bus in her first series of videos, not to my knowledge. If I'm incorrect about this, please do share, when she threw this other woman under the bus in her previous videos, because I don't recall that. She was at all times directing the fault at who it should be directed at, and that was her husband, Lewis. And rightly so, because he's the one in the marriage, not Sabrina. So the social media backlash that she's been getting, and the criticism, and all the critics talking about it's her karma. And, I want to delve a little bit into that. But first, I do want to continue the video before I share my thoughts on that. So let's go to the next slide.
Started my relationship with my husband, and I'm going to be done. And you can say what you want to say, do what you want to do. I mean, it is what it is, and that was almost 30 years ago. But when I was introduced to him, I was told he was not married. Only to find out later that he was. So I told him then that I did not deal with married men, and that I didn't want to do anything to some other woman that I didn't want done to me. And I meant that, and I still hold to that. So, of course, he gave me the standard, we've been having problems and all that kind of stuff. And whenever I would talk to him, I would tell him, he would try to be hitting on me, but I would knock it right down because I wasn't attracted to him. My husband was overweight, morbidly obese, actually. But he was a nice guy. But when I would talk to him, I would encourage him to stay with his wife and kids. And I thought he thought that was the oddest thing, but that's what I would do. I would encourage him because I didn't like him like that. And I was like, you're married, so this ain't going anywhere anyway. So he kept asking me like, what if I was divorced? Because she and I having problems and all of that. And I was like, well, if that's the case, you need to get your problem handled. I said, I can't even think about ever even dating you or doing any of that because you're still married. So lo and behold, he tells me that he's going to divorce her. He had started his process, and that, he wanted me to be his girl and all that kind of stuff. Actually gave me some diamond earrings to let me know. He was like, this is to let you know that I'm super duper serious about this thing. So I was like, well, okay then, because during this whole time, we had no intimate relationship or any of that for like 3 months. Because actually I was calling him Al Bundy, and he didn't even know why I was calling him that, because he was like, why you always call me Al Bundy? And I was like, because you married with children, and I don't mess with Al Bundys or whatever, right? So once he started his divorce proceedings, he asked me would I date him. So I did. So there may be some fault there where I started dating him before his actual divorce was final, but I made sure that he had filed divorce because that's what he told me. So we did take a trip to the Estes Music Festival the first year, and a phone call came in, and I'm assuming that it was his wife, but the way he responded to the call let me know that, basically something was up and that he probably had lied to me. So when we get off the phone, I was like, I thought you filed for divorce. Like, why was that conversation going that way? He didn't really have too much to say, but he was like, well, no, I talked about it, but I was going to file. I'm still doing some reach out. I'm filing when I get back and all that kind of stuff. So, of course, I was furious because I was like, you've lied to me. Like, why would you, tell a lie like that? The only reason I came with you on this trip was because you told me you had filed and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking everything kosher with them, and that I didn't have anything to do with that. Because he told me in the beginning, like, no, she and I having issues. And if I file for divorce, it has absolutely nothing to do with you. So I was like, well, okay, then. So, like I said, I wasn't attracted to him at first. But he was a really nice guy, really nice guy. He was a professional guy, was president of a company and all that kind of stuff. But I had my own thing. I was working. I was a single mom doing my own little thing. So I didn't really need him for anything. But the only thing that I'll say about that was, yeah, I did start dating him after he filed for divorce. And I think from the time I met him to the time he divorced was like a 10-month span. So those first 3 months, I didn't say anything to him, like romantically, because I was not attracted to him. And that is for real. If you see the picture of him before, you'll know why, but he was a nice guy. So I'm just saying. I'll say that, maybe me dating him before the divorce was final was wrong. And I'll take accountability for that. But I can't go back, 30 years now and correct that. I'm just trying to move forward and do what's right. But, Miss Thing is trying to paint this narrative like, oh, she was doing the same thing. Not the same thing at all, because my whole time I was encouraging him to stay with his people. She did not. I have the text messages between them from the day they met to, all the things that he was telling her, the things she was telling him, and telling him that she didn't have anything, and that she left her family with just the clothes on her back, and just this little sob story for him. So I guess he went with it. But like I said, y'all, this was originally about me posting a video of me seeing them for the first time in the airport. So I ain't judging her. I ain't gonna judge him. Like I said, I'm not, but it ain't like I willfully went out and decided like I'm gonna go and destroy his family. It was nothing like that. So a lot of us were deceived. A whole bunch of us were deceived. So that is what he has done. That's what he continues to do. So I'm gonna let it be what it is. And like I said, once we get further down the road in this process, I can share some things. I don't know how to share the receipts on here. I thought you could only do videos. So anybody that knows how you can post pictures and all of that of the text messages, I'll show you that I ain't got no lie to tell. And the whole time, I never talked to my husband's former wife. Only conversation we ever had was when she would bring the kids over and stuff like that. But she never said anything to me about me being the cause. But I did find this out, that after she found out that he and I was breaking up, she told someone that she was like, oh, she finally found out after all these years. Like, she finally found out who he really is. Because I think I mentioned in the earlier video about him telling me about how she was not having any kind of intimate relationship with him. And he thought it was because she was depressed and, had some postpartum and all of that. Turns out, word got back to me. She was like, I wasn't depressed, or I didn't have postpartum either. It was because I was tired of being in the doctor's office because he kept giving me stuff. So, I'm going to just leave it there, guys. And like I said, once all this is over, I'll come back and give you plenty of details. So old girl can keep telling all the stories she want, but they hanging, they doing their thing. I just got a message from a woman this morning who saw them out in Dallas last night at True Lux and said that, old girl got pregnant by her husband some years ago while she lived in California. So she was like, she's all about the money. So, and she is, and I'm telling you, y'all, yeah, I've lived a privileged life, but I've earned everything I've got here in this household. When he was sick, when he was doing all his other stuff, when he had to get shit wiped off of him, she wasn't here. I was wiping shit, cleaning up vomit, and all the things that a wife would do. So for that, for better or worse, yeah, I stuck in between all of that. So like I said, I'm going to end this right here. You can say what you want, judge how you want, but it's all good. I'm going to be good in the end. I was just sharing and hoping that my story would empower someone else to not be embarrassed, to stand up on your own, but it is what it is, and I'm living for today. Hope y'all have a good one.
There's a lot to unpack, but I'm going to make it brief today because I can be here all day, and I'm not actually going to play the last clip like I thought I was, because in this video alone, we get to, her revelation. Okay. And that is that, and according to some others online, she was the mistress. There was a TikToker that wrote a comment on Gail's post. My grandma said, how you get them is how you keep them or lose them. No wonder her husband said, no divorce. Let's keep it the way it is. And so that is talking a lot about karma. Like Gail is getting her karma. She's getting what she deserved because she did this to the first wife that Lewis was married to. And I want to first just clarify something. Lewis did this to his marriages. And although there were mistresses involved, I believe even with this other mistress, we don't know what Lewis told her. We don't know what Sabrina was told. We're breaking up, we're getting a divorce. We don't know if Lewis told Sabrina the same thing he told Gail. And we don't know if the first wife wound up being his new lady based on some previous relationship. This guy, Lewis, appears to me to be a serial adulteress. And he is cunning and charming, and he says all the right things to women who might not be at their greatest moment when he meets them. They might be at a low in their life, like Gail was at the time. She was a single young mother. She was financially not where she wanted to be at that time. And yes, we commend her for 25, 26 years into her marriage, for sticking by her husband's side loyally and faithfully, for doing what a loyal and faithful wife would and should do. And we commend her for that. We also commend her for sharing her story, for sharing her truth. And yes, I'm sure that her story would empower some of the viewers. The thing is that yes, she should have waited until he was divorced. And yes, he showed up in a marriage. He showed up telling you that his wife had postpartum. Now, what kind of man wouldn't want to stick by his wife who delivered his babies, who was going through depression and postpartum? Why would a woman date a guy who was telling her all that stuff? That was a red flag. But because Gail was not in the right space at that time, she didn't look at this as a red flag. She looked at it as an opportunity. And he was still a married man. He wasn't acting and behaving with integrity. He wasn't being impeccable with his word. And therefore, you should have been like, bye, Lewis, and out the door. And all his flowers, his gifts would have went in the trash or returned to sender. That would have been the right thing to do. But she can't go back in time. None of us can. And we've all made mistakes and we all have regrets that we have to live with. And we all do suffer some level of karma when we do something that causes pain or hurt to somebody else. And it comes back to us. We can all look at Gail and say, oh, well, she's getting her karma. She's getting what she deserves. Well, raise your hand if you haven't done something to hurt somebody that you truly loved or you respected, or maybe you didn't even know that person, but you knew that something that you were doing was wrong and it hurt somebody. And you maybe did or didn't get what you deserved. Maybe you felt nothing about it, but maybe karma came back to you. Um, I don't think any of us is, blemish free from having done something that we regret, hurting somebody, or not operating from a space of integrity in our lives. And hopefully, if you have gone through something like that, you have learned from it and maybe made the amends, if possible, to make the amends. Because just because you have regrets, just because you're sorry, doesn't mean that the other person is ready to receive that. I'm going through that in my own personal life. I have hurt people that I absolutely love, and I have regrets about that. And some are willing to forgive me, some are not. And I have to eat that. I have to live with that. And Gail will have to live with that. Sabrina will have to live with that. Lewis, we hope, will have to live with that. And to the viewers and the comments that Gail received on there, I say to you, he without sin, let him be the first to cast the first stone, because all of us are guilty of something, that we aren't too proud of. Maybe we've hurt people in the same way that Lewis has, in the same way that Gail has, in the same way that Sabrina has. None of us are like so Bob bitching that we can, point our finger at her, because there's always three fingers pointing right back at you. When you're dealing with healing and betrayal, it's not very easy to get over, but you can, and there is hope for Gail and for any person that is going through this type of experience. But I think the most important thing is to seek help from either a counselor, a coach, a therapist, your church, a support group of any sort, if you feel like you're spending too much time in the grieving stage, and if you're unable to move forward with your life, because that's not a space you want us to live in. I don't know if it was Gail that said this or another TikToker, but that experience is in her past, and she doesn't live there anymore. The only way that she can continuously relive the experience is if she continues to stay in the past, stuck in the past. And that happens to many people, especially when you're dealing with infidelity. It's really hard to trust someone else. It's hard for you to trust others because of that hurt and that betrayal. But trust you must, and moving forward you will. And my hope is that this is the end of Gail sharing, this story with all of us, at least from the space that she's in. My hope is that she is able to move forward in her life, because this isn't really going to help her years and years from now if she can't find her way out of this situation. I get it right now because, it's pretty fresh. 26 years, this is still fresh. But my hope is that she's seeking some help and support from, the friends or the people that is in her community, to get her life back. Next week, I will be talking a lot more about the soft wife, trad wife kind of thing, because it appears that Gail was a traditional housewife to him. And so maybe there were other red flags, but she couldn't get out because finances were tied up together. And that when you're a soft wife or a trad wife, you have to make sure that you have rights and access to resources, titles, and all that other stuff. And even then, most states in America are 50-50. You have to divide all that stuff up. And that's what Lewis was so worried about, right? Losing his money. And that maybe, according to Gail, that's what Sabrina's in it for. And who knows? Because many people probably could say the same for her, because she stuck around because she wasn't in a financially stable situation herself. None of us can judge. Like Gail said, she can't judge. None of us should be judging her, Sabrina, or Lewis. Well, Lewis, yeah, he should be accountable for this. And we don't know why he's the way he is. That's a whole other story, and I've talked about the reason why cheaters do cheat, and I'll leave the link to that if you guys are interested in watching my thoughts on that video. In regards to judging Gail or Sabrina in this instance, it looks like both of them, in my opinion, were the victims. My hope is that Sabrina doesn't spend 20-something years of her life with this guy, because he doesn't really seem like he's operating from a space of integrity. And nothing in your life, your circumstances, should lead you to have to stick around with somebody that's just no good. Please do go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, and then tick on the notification bell so that you're aware of when I drop a new video. If you found this video helpful, then do go ahead and leave a comment below. If you've watched some of the other videos, and if I missed something and you're like, Collette, do go ahead and share, because the more you share, the more I get to make more creative videos like this. And it's a new year. And I think that sharing these reaction videos to dating and relationship topics like this, based off of my experience and expertise, I'm here to help all of those of you who are interested in getting advice from somebody like me. So that's it for today. I thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.